What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Top Dogs podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Doster. Fun episode on the way for you today. I was able to catch up last week with Assan Diarra, and we spoke a little bit about his maturation as a point guard, his development this season, and what he is expecting out of this group. Interesting conversation. Ahas is a good guy and an interesting interview. I was glad we were able to kind of catch up there. But first and foremost, we have some UConn basketball to talk about. The Huskies beat Rhode Island 102-75 last night in an exhibition that was played in front of a packed house in Mohegan Sun Arena. I thought it was a promising performance with a couple of very worrying signs that I can tell you for a fact the staff is going to be ready to kind of work with these guys on to find a way to be able to get them a little bit better rebounding. But I thought it was overall the kind of performance that you would expect out of a team that is ranked in the preseason top three, that has this level of expectation, that is coming off of back-to-back national championships, that is also working four new starters into the mix, working a couple freshmen into the mix, working a couple transfers into the mix, and has a number of guys that have been with the program that are going to be in much different roles this season. So there is a lot of continuity, but there is also a lot of change on this UConn roster. And I thought we saw some of the effects of that last night. Before I dive all the way into it, please make sure you rate, review, like, subscribe, do all of those things that make me happy as a podcaster. Any of those interactions, all of that stuff really does help with the almighty algorithm. The algorithm is what matters when it comes to content on the internet. You guys know all that. So without further ado, just a couple of notes on Rhode Island. For starters, they did not have the guy that they are expecting to be their starting point guard, a kid named Sebastian Thomas, a transfer from Albany. He's a guy that averaged just under 20 points, 4 boards, 4 assists last season for Albany. He's not really an entirely new transfer. He was there for Archie Miller's first season at Rhode Island, transfers to Albany, boomerang transfer, comes back to Rhode Island for his final season. And after being able to catch up with Arch at A10 Media Day earlier this, I guess it was last week at this point, I think that this URI team is going to be a little bit better than people give them credit for. The David Green kid they got is going to be an all A10 caliber player. And obviously Javonte Brown Ferguson looked like he was the second coming of Shaquille O'Neal last night, especially in the first 10 minutes of that game. But URI is probably a middle of the pack A10 team. They didn't have their starting point guard. So just kind of use that as context for what this performance was and what we saw out of UConn against the Rhode Island team that, you know, is probably looking at something like an 18-14 season being a good year for them. So thought there was a lot of good last night. Thought there was a lot of worrying signs last night. And overall, I think, like I said, it looks like a team that is probably working their way into being the best version of themselves. So I think we have to start with solo ball because there's been a lot of buzz around solo ball this offseason. There was a lot of speculation, I guess, about who would end up being the starter alongside Assan Diara at the point. I think it was made pretty evident when Hurley came out. I think it was a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks ago now, and said that he needs Assan Diara to be a different player this season when he's going to start at the point. So that was kind of evident. Solo started at the 2 alongside him. Aiden Mahaney came off the bench, actually played more minutes than Solo did last night. But I do think it is notable that the bigger guy, the more athletic guy, the guy that finished with 2 blocks and 2 steals last night was the one that was starting. Defense is going to be something that matters to this coaching staff and Dan Hurley quite a bit, and having a guy out there that's a little bit bigger that can really get after you defensively, I think is part of what made that decision for him. I mean, the confidence that he played with, though, was he looked like a guy that had wanted to play all of last year and finally knows he's going to be getting his chance. Knocked down 3 threes, made a couple of nice floaters in the lane. You know, I think that he is absolutely going to be a dude. I think that the buzz that I had heard when he was coming in is that this is a kid that has all of the potential in the world, that you could see his trajectory going like this, but that it might take a little bit of time once he got onto campus because he was still a guy that was really in like the growth phase of who he is as a player. And I think we're kind of seeing the benefits of that, and they're reaping the benefits of that. I don't I said before the year, I thought that there was a real chance that he could be like a Jordan Hawkins kind of impact and kind of development this year in terms of what he would produce, and I did not see anything last night that would lead me astray from that belief. I think there's a chance that he is an NBA player down the road, and I think that an all Big East caliber season is something that is very much in the cards of Solo. He was awesome. He's tough. He's athletic. He's going to make shots. He plays with unabashed confidence. All the reason in the world to be excited about him. He did start over Aiden Mahaney. I thought Aiden Mahaney was really impressive in the role that he's going to be asked to play for UConn this year. I think that he's the one guy that when you get towards the end of a clock, let's say you're on 18 to 20 seconds of offense and nothing pops up, he's the guy where you can kind of put the ball in his hands and say, all right, go make something happen. Put him on the ball screen, trust that he can make something happen, break somebody down one-on-one. And I thought that we saw some of that last night. There was one move where in the first half where he comes off of a DHO going to his right and then kind of finishes up and under with his left hand on the strong side of the floor. There was another one where he's a slight dude. He's probably 6'2". He's probably like 180 pounds, but he kind of bullied a bigger defender and then coming around to his left and then finished with his left hand through contact. I thought that was pretty impressive as well. I I don't know if he's as big as the staff thought that he would be coming in when they kind of recruited him and brought him onto campus. But I think that there's a level of toughness there that makes a lot of sense. And I think that he is someone where if he kind of embraces coming off the bench, being the sixth man and being the guy that can make this, the starting controversy, I think that that is something that would be really good for the program overall. He had 17 points last night, 6 and 9 from the floor, 3 assists. Not a single turnover. I thought he wasn't great defensively. I think that there are some issues there, but you don't have him on the floor for his defense. So I was impressed. I thought it was a really good performance. And I think that the three-headed monster of Assan Diara, Solo Ball, and Aiden Mahaney will be a really, really, really good backcourt this season. And Diara was just Diara, man. Like I think that I was impressed with his poise as a passer, right? And I think that he kind of is who he is, right? You're not bringing him out here thinking that he's going to end up being Tristan Newton and being a guy that can get you 20 a night. I don't think that you are starting him at the point expecting him to be this game-changing, dynamic, Trey Young, Ja Morant kind of a player. That's just not who he is. But if he is someone that is going to be able to make offense easier, get you into your sets, guard 94 feet, be a complete pest defensively, and be able to work through with Mahaney and with Solo Ball and kind of make that three-headed monster work. I think he plays that role really, really well, and I thought he did it really, really well last night. 9 assists is not something to shake your head at. The big question that I have, and I don't think that this is going to be something that shocks anybody, is the interior play, man. You gave up 18 offensive rebounds, a 40% offensive rebounding percentage for a URI team that is not exactly big and strong. Javonte Brown-Ferguson had 16 points and 10 boards. He was kind of beating up Sampson a little bit last night. Sampson had 4 fouls. I know that there were a lot of possessions last night, but 75 points on 77 possessions against a team that was missing their point guard that goes for 24 and 4 every night is not something that is necessarily the most impressive performance in the world. So rim protection, defensive rebounding, there's a level of like length and athleticism and physicality that just is not there this season that has been there in the past. I mean, think about it. 2 years ago, it was Andre Jackson, AK, and Adama Sanogo with Donovan Clingan coming off the bench, right? Last year, it was Donovan Clingan with Steph Castle and AK out there, and that is a different level of size and physicality along that front line. This year, Sampson is like he's athletic and he is a lob target and he's going to block some shots and he's going to create some havoc running to the rim, and he's an absolute nightmare when he's doing those hard hedges and able to recover. But when it comes to boxing people out and taking up space and being physical in the paint, like it's just not what he is. That's not who he is. That's not the way that he's kind of played in the past, right? I think just look at the size difference and the weight difference between him and Donovan Clingan, and that kind of tells you what you need to know. I do trust that they'll be able to find a way to work through that. I think a lot of it is going to end up being relying on some of the wings to be able to create more defensive rebounding opportunities. But again, like I'll talk about the Wings in a little bit, but I have some concerns there as well. Um, I do think Terrace Reed is a guy that has real potential to win the starting job at the 5 spot. Um, you saw flashes of it last night, right? There was the backdoor pass to, I believe it was Aiden Mahaney for a layup. He had another one in the first half where he made the right read. He just threw the ball away, which will happen. He's kind of processing the game. I think that he is bigger. He is more athletic. He had a block last night that was really, really impressive. He had a couple post moves that made you turn your head. He was also 4 for 10 from the floor. Um, and that's not exactly the greatest performance in the world. But here's what I will say. I think the biggest strength that this UConn staff has when it comes to developing big guys is improving their awareness and teaching them how to think the game and how to process the game beyond just being, I'm 6'11, I'm 250 pounds, give the ball to me, I'm going to turn around and dunk it. Go out, set the screen, roll to the rim, go up, catch it, and dunk it, right? I think that by the end of last season, Donovan Clingan was an absolute weapon as a high post offensive hub. I thought that some of the passes he made were good. I thought some of the reads that he made were great. And I thought his ability to process and understand what was happening in front of him on a basketball court went from what you would expect of a freshman that played, frankly, public school, high school basketball in the state of Connecticut to the reason why there was real conversation between T.O. and I that he could be the best prospect in this draft class last year. I think we saw with the Dom Sonogo, he started out as a black hole as a freshman where you threw the ball into him and you know it's going to be dribble, 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 pump fake, pump fake, pump fake, pump fake, pump fake, shot. Just somebody that, I think about, I think it was in the national semifinal, the game against Miami, where no, Miami, he hit about two. No, San Diego State, he hit 2 threes in the first like 3 possessions of the game. And then Miami, he had 5 assists in the first half. So I can't remember what it was, but he went from being a guy that didn't really, that would never pass the ball out of the post to being someone that was able to read double teams and fire the ball around and let you run offense through him on the low block. And I think that we're going to see some of that coming with Terrace Reed. Like he had 3 assists last night. That's not a mistake. That's not a fluke. Um, that's not abnormal. I think that's going to be something that will come. And I do believe that at some point, Terrace Reed, we will be talking about whether or not Terrace Reed is the best 5-man on this team. Because with his physicality, his rebounding, like I think you need that. He played 18 minutes, had 10 boards last night. Samson Johnson played 20 minutes, had 1 rebound. They're 2 different kind of players, but I think that as we see if some of these rebounding issues persist, I think that we're going to see more Terrace Reed. Just for that simple fact, he can end possessions. I will be worried about teams that have dominant big men around the basket. That's just honest. You know, dealing with a guy like a Ryan Kalkbrenner with the front line that UConn has this year is going to be difficult. If they end up playing someone like a Auburn with Janai Broome or a Kansas with Hunter Dickinson in the tournament, that is going to be a problem. They're going to be problems for a lot of people, but that's something that would be concerning me right now, to be frank. I don't think that there are a ton of them in the Big East this season, which is probably helpful for winning that regular season title, but it's just something to be cognizant of and keep an eye on and think about as the year kind of progresses there. The other issue for me, and I'll just say for defense, like it's defensive rebounding and it's fouling. They put URI on the line 35 times last night, 35 free throws for URI, which is just between the offensive rebounds and the free throws. Those are just easy points, second chance points, free points when I thought for the most part, like the first shot defense was pretty good beyond the fouling. But I think that that's something that is definitely going to have to improve. Let's talk about the wings here. Okay, I thought Alex Carabin was perfectly fine last night, maybe even a little bit better than perfectly fine. 13 points, 8 boards, 4 assists, knocked down a couple threes, did some things defensively, like was able to stay in front of guys. I do think that there is a real possibility that he doesn't take the superstar leap this year. I kind of feel like he's just at a certain point, what makes him so good is being the connector, being the role player, being the guy that makes everything else work around him, being the guy that makes offense able to run because of his floor spacing and his IQ, and defense work because of his switchability and the fact that he can play the three or the four. You know, I I hope that doesn't sound like I'm negating what he can do, because what he can do is incredibly valuable. And when he ends up getting to the NBA, he's going to probably make like 50, 60, $70 million doing it, right? Like, he is a very, very, very good basketball player. But I think he might just be one of those guys that is a very, very, very good role player, as opposed to the guy that we're going to rely on to go get 18 to 20 points every single night. Now, I could be wrong. We could end up seeing that happen. And if it does, great, because he's still so good at all those role playing things. Um, but I hope that we don't lose some of the stuff that makes him as good as he is and as valuable as he is, while chasing some of the stuff that he's trying to prove to NBA teams that maybe he doesn't necessarily have to do, if that makes sense. If you get 13 points, 8 boards, 4 assists from Carabin every night, while shooting something close to 50% from the floor and 40% from the three, then you have a guy that is incredibly valuable and very, very good in the first team all Big East kind of a player right there. And I hope that is, if that's the bare minimum of what we're getting, then I think that that's a very, very good sign. I thought Liam McNeely looked like a freshman last night. A couple dumb fouls, a couple too many turnovers, had a couple jumpers that looked like the adrenaline was flowing and the ball was flying out of his hand and hit the other side of the rim. I'm not that worried about him. I think that he will get there. It's just gonna, freshmen are gonna be freshmen, especially early on in the season. I think that it will come. Jaden Ross, couple ugly turnovers, made a couple threes. Anyone watching him can see the potential that's there. I think that it'll come, but I think it's going to be more in like an eighth man role this year, probably. And then Stewie looks like he kind of thinned out a little bit, but he's still kind of doing the same stuff that he was last year. So um, I hope that he continues to develop, because again, he's another guy I think will play a really, really important role. And here's my biggest takeaway from this group, right? So last year, what kind of made UConn really, really, really good was that they could get into their offense and just run their sets and not have to worry about anything. You weren't going to score on them. They didn't have great perimeter defenders, but they had big guys that knew how to funnel players to cling in, and then you couldn't do anything because of their size and strength everywhere, right? They were like 6'4", 6'3" along their backcourt. Steph Castle and Alex Garrett, like, they just had size everywhere. They're going to be a little bit smaller this year, and they don't have that size on the inside, and they don't have that same level of athleticism on the perimeter. So I do think that this is going to be a year where we see more emphasis on transition, right? We see more UConn trying to take advantage of the fact that Samson Johnson is a gazelle in transition, when he's maybe not the best when it comes to a half court setting. I think we're going to see them try to take advantage of the fact that, like, Solo Ball might be a real disruptor defensively. And when you have Solo and Assan Diara kind of at the head of the snake defensively, you're going to be able to pressure people and force some turnovers and get out and run. I think that this is a team that will take advantage of the fact that they have a whole bunch of shooters and a whole bunch of length and a whole bunch of athleticism and all of these wing pieces and all of these guys that can really space the floor and shoot it. I do wonder if it's going to be a little bit like live by the three, die by the three this year, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing with some of the shooters that they have this season. It's going to be a different feel for UConn this year. Remember, last season they finished 330th in pace and averaged 64 possessions a game. The first scrimmage we saw, it was like this. It was up and down. They scored 102 points and they played a 78 possession basketball game. That's a little bit closer to 2 years ago, but even the 2023 team was a little bit slower than that. So I'm curious to see how that kind of develops and moves going forward. And I do think that it's something where that could be, look, a lot of fun to watch if they decide that we're going to be this all-out transition team that's going to try to score, 80, 90, 100 points every single night while getting up and down the floor and firing up threes. There's a little vibe of Nate Oates to that. That's kind of what Alabama has, kind of made their mark with. And I'll be curious to see how that plays out. Last thing I want to say about Noel. Shout out to Ahmad Noel. He came in on his very first possession. He throws the ball away, and it leads to a dunk at the other end of the floor. Gets the ball back, bangs a three, comes down, gets a stop, comes down, bangs a three at the other end. So that is, to me, the definition of a gamer. He, he didn't let one mistake get to him and comes down and bangs a couple threes. I think it's going to take a little bit of time for him to get there just because of what's in front of him in the backcourt. But it's nice to know that they have a guy that's going to be able to kind of handle that level of attention on the when a mistake is made. So those are my takes. We have now 3 weeks until the first game of the college basketball season. Hopefully we'll be here doing some previews, doing some game reactions, getting some interviews, getting some access, talking to some former players, talking to some current players. I'll be up at Big East Media Day, so hopefully that'll pan out. But it was fun, man. It was great to see UConn get back out on the floor. It was great to see these guys play, and it was a lot of fun to kind of see the first I guess, iteration of the 2024-25 UConn basketball team. I'll have more preview stuff coming up here and more thoughts on what to expect out of those early games and what to kind of look for, what will matter, what will be the important part. But we'll get there when we get there. For now, let's get into that interview with Hassan Diarra, because everybody wants to hear from him. No one wants to hear from me. That's coming up next. If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM Sportsbook. We're going to be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners, the viewers of the Field of 68 throughout the year. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, you can use bonus code FIELD, and you will get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. The best part, all you need to do is deposit and bet $10 of your own hard-earned money to be eligible. Here's how you make it work. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using that bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you will receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure that you use that bonus code FIELD when you sign up. BetMGM is going to have some fun offers available throughout the NBA playoffs. Bet insurance tokens, odds boost, and what I love, a nice parlay booster too from time to time, as well as a ridiculous array of player prop bets for any sport that you could possibly imagine betting on. BetMGM is and always will be the king of the prop bet. So go download the BetMGM app, use the bonus code FIELD, and sign up today. And while I've got you, a quick request. The best way to support the Field of 68 content that you get for free is to engage with us. Rate and review the podcast. Like and share the YouTube videos. Tell your friends about us. It all helps in a world where the algorithm is king. And now, back to the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Top Dogs podcast here on the Field of 60. I am now joined by UConn point guard Assan Diara. Assan, we are recording this in early October. And I guess just let's start with this, man. How are practices treating you? How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Practices, we've been going pretty hard, but it's going well. Guys are getting better. We're just getting acclimated.
You're going to be asked to kind of play a little bit of a new role this season, right? I think Coach today said that he's expecting you to be better this season than you've been the last couple of seasons. I think that's a compliment, saying that you have more that you can kind of provide. What have you kind of done this offseason to help yourself get ready to step into a bigger role this year?
Oh yeah, just sharpening up my tools, living in the gym. The most important thing that I would say is becoming a better leader. We have a lot of new guys that came into the program, and I have to be the one to get them acclimated and get them ready for the season.
How do you do that? How do you become a better, like if you want to become a better shooter, you get in the gym, you get on the gun, you get up a bunch of shots, right? You want to improve your ball handling, you get out there and you do a bunch of two ball dribbling drills. How do you develop that skill? Because I do believe leadership is a skill.
Yeah, I would say first thing, like with your teammates, you want to build a relationship with them to the point where you can critique them and find a way where you can send them a message. It don't always have to be you yelling at them. It could just be a talk. It could just be a word. It could just be an action. It could just be a look. Developing that relationship with your team.
Right. What have you kind of worked on in terms of your game? I think last year I compared you a bunch of times to, a third down back in the NFL, right? You come in, you come off the bench, it's a change of pace, you bring a different dynamic. These guys are used to dealing with Tristan and Cam and everything that they provided, and all of a sudden you got this pest that's going to guard them 94 feet and just kind of create havoc. What have you kind of done to Is that what we're going to see more from you next year? I guess. Are we going to see more of like 30 minutes of Hassan just out there wreaking havoc on everybody?
Oh yeah, I just been, trying to be consistent with my jump shot. Um, Definitely been the main focus. Sharpening up all my tools, as I said before. I've been watching a lot more film on, these really special point guards and reading what they see, trying to develop skills that they have and just putting that out on the court each and every day.
How do you how do you stay motivated after an off season like this, right? You're coming off of back-to-back titles. You're coming off of reaching the pinnacle of the sport twice. You're coming off of doing something that hasn't been done since, Joel Kim Noah and those guys in 2000. I don't know. You must have been what, like 5 or 6 years old when Florida went back to back. Uh,
Yeah.
I feel like it would be easy to kind of let complacency set in. How do you avoid that?
I would just say the will and the want more. Honestly, what I mean? This is a new team, and this new team have accomplished nothing. We haven't done anything. We haven't done anything together. And the will to want that to want our own trophy again. To want a Big East regular season championship, a Big East tournament championship, a national championship. So I'll just say like having a chip on our shoulders each and every day, and knowing that this is a new year. We forgot about what happened last year. No, I mean, we only lived that moment for 1 week.
Yeah, I mean, you could have just said Dan Hurley is our coach, and he doesn't let us.
That too. That too.
If I would have told you when you committed back in 2022 that you would be walking into a team that wins back-to-back national titles, send four guys off to the NBA, and comes into the next season predicted as like one of three teams in the mix to be number one, did you see that coming when you committed? Like, did you see what the ceiling of this group could be?
I definitely didn't see it coming. But I did trust Coach's vision. And he did say, we're going to compete for national championships, and I mean, Coach is a man of his word. Uh, and I believed in him. So when I committed, it was like sooner or later this is going to be able to happen.
Yeah. There were two kind of major will he stay or will he go storylines this offseason with UConn, right? Alex obviously deciding on whether or not he was going to head off to the NBA draft. And then, like 3 days later, Coach Hurley deciding on whether or not he was going to go coach LeBron and the Lakers. Let's start with the boss man, right? A lot of people thought there was a real chance he would make that jump. Were you one of those people? Like, were you nervous that kind of week long saga trying to figure out whether or not he's going to come back?
Yeah, I was definitely nervous. I mean, you have to be realistic. It's the Lakers. LeBron plays for them. Anthony Davis plays for them. Those is two soon to be Hall of Famers, especially LeBron. So I mean, it was a real threat. But honestly, I mean, I had faith that Coach would come back and want to coach us again.
How stressful was that wait?
It was super stressful, I would say. But like I'll say one thing too. I was definitely happy for Coach. He deserves that moment. He deserved to get that call from that job. He's done a great job. He's an amazing coach, and it showed like his work has been paid off.
And be honest here. I need your real opinion. You've been here for 2 years now, heading into year three. Fifth year guy. You're going to have some leadership role on this team, right? Do you think LeBron and Anthony Davis could have handled a Dan Hurley practice?
Honestly, no. I believe they can't. They probably would have stormed out, been mad at him, and went to the GM or something.
How'd you he told us the story a little bit. How'd you kind of take me through how you found out that he's coming back through the way that you saw it happen? Because you guys all kind of got called into the locker room, right? And you're kind of sitting there waiting for him to come in. No phones, no nothing.
Yeah, we were all in the film room, just waiting. He kind of made us wait a little bit longer than we had to. And he came in there and he just, he didn't get right to it. He was being around the bush a little bit, asked a couple of questions, and eventually he told us that, what I mean, he's staying, and we got to promise him that we're going to give him everything we got because he believes in us.
Yeah. Did he kind of like beat around the bush? Did he try to make you think that he was taking the job?
Yeah, I'll say definitely a little bit. You know what I mean? He was a little like, yeah, why, why do we do things the way we do it, this, that, and the third, and it was along those lines, and you know, it had everyone a little bit confused.
Take me through what happened after he kind of said, "Listen, I'm coming back." Did everybody go nuts, or was there a moment where it was like he just said it, right? Like he just said it.
Yeah,
We're back.
yeah,
He's locked in.
that's what happened though. It was a moment like, whoa, wait, did he just say he's staying? And you know, obviously after that it was like, you know, pandemonium, a sigh of relief. But I mean, we were so happy. I would say, you know, it was during the summer, so we had practice right after he told us, and that was one of our best practices of the summer.
I mean, look, let's call it what it is, right? UConn is UConn. I grew up a UConn fan. I'm from New Haven. I followed this team and this program since I was like 5 years old, right? Back in like the Daron Sheffer days. Um, this is the Lakers. This was LeBron and AD. Like this is the pinnacle of basketball in the United States of America. And he said, "Thanks, but no thanks. I'm staying here in stores with my guys." Like what is that? That it. We talked about motivation, right? Like that's got if he's leaving the Lakers to stay here, like how am I not going to bust my ass every day for this guy?
Yeah, it just shows how much he believes in us and how much he believes in this team. Um, Obviously, you know, I mean, the Lakers is all the glitz and the glamour is over there, the Lake Show. But it's something about this school, something about this program, something about the people in this program that, you know, I mean, you get to touch each and every day. Makes you want to stay.
So us talk a little bit about AK. I think it's fair to say he's been one of the best kind of role players in college basketball the last 2 years. Had a chance to maybe get himself some NBA money. Decided to come back to school, and feels like maybe step into the starring role this year, right? Like every year, you guys have a guy that kind of makes this big leap. Whether it was Jordan Hawkins heading into the 2023 season. Last year, I would say it was Tinu who kind of made the leap from being good to All American. Feels like you and AK are those two guys. Like, are you ready to kind of fill that void? Like, have you seen it from him as well?
Yeah, I mean, definitely seen it from AK. Just when he came back from the NBA draft process, he had a different little mindset. Um, and I would say he's done a great job from the summer to now of being a better leader, um, working on his craft, adding more things to his craft, and ultimately, I can't wait for you guys to see him play.
Yeah, where's he gotten better? Give me a snippet. What have you seen?
He's gotten better with the ball in his hands. He's able to create off the bounce a lot more than he usually does. And like I said, his leadership has took a big leap.
Yeah, because last year was the kind of like he throws a pump fake, then he takes a couple dribbles to his right hand and it looks a little awkward, and he tries to put up a little floater, right? So he's got a little
Yeah,
bag now.
yeah, we got a little bit more to his bag.
Good, man. That's good to hear. Some of these new guys coming in. You got Aiden, you got Terrace, you got Liam, you got Ahmad, you got Isaiah. Who's been maybe the most impressive to you?
The most impressive to me has to be Liam. You can see the talent oozing through the way he plays each and every day. The jump shot is really really pure. And he's a dog. You know, what I mean, he has this intensity about him, this swagger about him that fits us perfectly.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of you can put him in the same actions that you put Cam Spencer in, right? Because he's got that ability to run off a screen, because he can kind of read the floor, he can make some of those passes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's super talented and has like so much game for a young player. He's able to finish well at the rim. He's a smart player, knows how to play off 2 feet. And like I said before, the jump shot is pure, man. You give him an open look, that's 3 points.
Uh, For freshmen coming in to a program like this, it's not always the easiest transition, right? Like you're not always going to get guys that are Steph Castle or are Donovan Clingan when he was a freshman that just come in and like they are ready. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a process. So when you see these guys that do look like they are ready for that kind of contribution to a program that has national title aspirations, right? Like, what does that tell you about this? I mean, what is he, 18, 19 years old, and he comes in and he's looking and he's playing like that?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows, what this program values. And when we count on our young guys to produce, as Steph, last year was really, really, really big for us. Donovan the year before, Alex the year before. So we're looking at these young guys to come in and have an impact.
Yeah. So with the transfers, with Aiden and Terrace, you guys had some other players that were on campus, and it kind of became like UConn's gotten to the point now where it's like, all right, we're going to pick and choose who we want out of the portal because we are able to be selective, right? There are probably more players that wanted to come to UConn than guys that UConn necessarily wanted. And I think that is, to me, that reads as we are betting on the player development within our program. We are betting on Stewie turning into a guy that's going to be able to make a leap, and Solo being a guy that can step up and kind of make a leap here. And even like a Samson Johnson, he's going to be a senior. We're going to have a big year out of him. What have you seen out of some of those guys in terms of where they've gotten better and where they're going to contribute a little bit this year?
I mean, I'll just start with Solo, man. I think he has improved the most since from last year. Um, the way he's come approaching practice each and every day, the way he's shooting the ball, he's gonna have a really special season, and I think the fans are gonna love him. Sam, Sam has really grown his game, being more comfortable with the ball. Like sometimes we even got him bringing the ball up the court. And
On
that's gonna help
purpose,
us.
like that's intentional.
Yeah, we want him to do it. We want him to attack and transition and be a break starter. Uh, Stewie, obviously, he has you know a tremendous amount of talent. He's been scoring the ball really really well. His game has progressed in ways where you don't expect it. He's better on the ball. He's better in ball screens, and he's developing each and every day.
I was kind of joking a little bit with Samson, but one thing that we've heard over and over again from Coach Hurley, from the staff, is just like the wall potential, right? That's his, like, I think his favorite saying is wall potential, and a lot of it is because of the athleticism and the way that he can jump. And I'm sure that you're kind of sitting here counting how many assists you're going to get per night, just throwing the ball up the square and saying, "Sam, go get it," right? But there's more talent than him just being able to jump. So I guess my question is, when you see him kind of do these things, like add that factor to his game, what does that tell you about, one, his work ethic, and two, kind of where you can see him being by the time we get to March?
Yeah, Sam, his talent level, his ceiling level is super high. He can do so many things that people don't know. Like he's an amazing passer for a big fella. Like I said, he's able to put the ball on the floor now, which makes him kind of like a guard. If you got a 5-man guard in the guard, it's a tough matchup for them. And he's able to get off ball screens so quick. And he's a smart player, so he has a lot of intangible things that you just cannot teach.
Yeah, the thing that I've loved about watching you guys the last 2 years is it feels like you have two different ways to play, right? When Adamo was out there, you were hedging ball screens hard and running everything through the post. And then Klingon's out there, and you're playing and drop, and you're putting them in ball screens, and you're looking for a little more like lob at the rim stuff. And then it kind of flipped last year, right? Where Donovan
Yeah,
was the guy getting 25, 26 minutes, and you bring Sampson in a lot of times at the same time that you're on the floor, and all of a sudden you got people guarding you 94 feet and hedging these ball screens hard, and you got this 6'11" dude that looks like he's as athletic as an Olympic sprinter out there causing havoc everywhere. Are we going to see that again? Like, is Terrace ready and Sam ready to kind of play those two? It's like the thunder and lightning role, right? I feel like that's the best way to phrase it.
yeah. I think we'll see that again. Tyrus is actually very mobile. He's able to get out on them screens and hedge a ball screen and create havoc as well. It's going to be interesting to see that dynamic.
Yep. All right, I got three more quick hitters for you, and then I'll let you go get some. First one, your favorite road trip in the Big East.
Oh, I think my favorite road trip is last year. My favorite road trip was Providence. It was a quick ride down the road, um, late game, and it was a really really good game for us.
Going by a lot, made a lot of people quiet, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I was half expecting you to say your favorite road trip is Madison Square Garden for the Big East tournament, but I forgot that's the third home.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's a home game for us, if you ask me.
who is the most annoying guy on the team group chat?
In the team group chat right now,
Yeah. Who are you like?
yeah,
You get that text from him and it's like, come on, man. What is this guy doing?
I say it got to be Taz Reed. You know, he's always sending gifts and pictures of like old pictures of the players. You know, when they were young. You know, bad haircuts and things of that nature. So it has to be Taz.
Who's the funniest?
Ahmad Noah is the funniest,
He's the
definitely.
funniest. Yeah, he's a Philly.
Yes.
Obviously, he's going to be funny. All right, and the last one. This might be the hardest question that you're ever going to have to answer, but I need you to give me an answer. I need you on the record with this answer. Give me your all-time UConn starting five.
Mm, all right. Oof.
Right?
You gotta put Kimba at the one. I mean, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go small. I'm gonna put Shabazz at the two. Kimba, Shabazz, one and two. I'm gonna just pick my big right now. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with Mac. I'm gonna go with Mecca Oakson. My four man. I'm gonna go with Rudy Gay.
Okay.
And then the three, I gotta go with the great Ray Allen.
There you go. It's funny, man. We see you put this team together. You don't have Richard Hamilton on there. You don't have Daniel.
Yeah,
It's hard, man. It's hard to do. It's
I
not easy.
almost I, I almost put Donovan at the five, but because he's 7'3", but
No, we got his ego's getting too big, man. We got to keep DC in check a little bit here.
yeah,
So,
yeah, a little bit.
and Haas, I appreciate you being here. Best of luck this season. I'm going to be up there for Big East Media Day. Hopefully, I'll see you up there, and I will definitely be at least a couple games. I'm going to bring my kid. I brought my son to the Big East Championship last year. Was the first time that he saw a UConn game in person. I live down in Jersey. We'll be back
Nice.
up for a couple of those, man. Hopefully, be able to catch up. Best of luck this season. Stay healthy and get us some wins, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.